Welcome, sailors. I see you have followed the dulcet tones of my voice, and now I will drown you in internet cringe! I don't think I can do that the whole episode. Okay, anyway, today's stories come from the Yugioh subreddit. Let's begin. I once played a match against a guy that acted like a total douche for no reason. To start off, he refused to shake my hand at the start of the match. I usually just greet someone to show my respect, but this guy straight up stared at me and said something along the lines of, "Play me first, and then I'll see if you're worthy." That alone was pretty bad manners to me. Okay, so I get ready and go first. As I activate my cards, once he gets an idea of what deck I'm playing, he scoffs. "Oh, that's what you're playing?" I let it slide and continue playing. So I know how necessary it is to leave the opponent some time to react to the plays you're making. I've made it a habit to systematically ask someone if they want to respond to my actions and allow them some time before I move on to my next move. I always politely remind my opponent that if they don't know the effect of one of my cards, they're free to read it. At some point in the match, I special summon a monster. I'm going to special summon this card. Do you want to read it or take action? I get a clear no, and move on to activate its effect. Once this guy realizes the effect is going to be devastating to him, he decides I didn't give him enough time to respond. He tells me I didn't inform him about the effects well enough, and refuses to play on until a judge shows up. To wrap the story up, I explained what happened to the judge. He told the guy it was fair game and that my opponent missed timing and he ended up going into rage mode. He forfeited the match by packing his stuff, yelling, "Screw you and your meta deck! I hope you feel happy about yourself!" and all sorts of bad things about mothers and whatnot. He yelled at the judge for being biased and got escorted out of the event. TLDR, some dude showed me disrespect, made an unfair complaint, called the judge, and went to full rage mode when the judge ruled against him. This is why announcing your phases and the opportunities for your opponents to respond is so important. OP was absolutely right to make this a habit. Although you may get cheap wins by being unclear with your opponent, at the end of the day, you only really cheat yourself. Is it really a win if you purposely sped through your turn, glossing over chain opportunities? Because OP gave his opponent the proper opportunity to respond, the problem player had no grounds to stand on when he went to the judge. Now surely, this is a one-off occurrence. There can't be any other rage stories in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, can there be? Spoilers, yes. Next post. It was about 2 years ago at a Seattle, Washington regional. It was a long day of dueling and the tensions were high. This was around round 7 and at the top tables. There was a wind-up player playing against a mermail player. It was game 2. The mermail player had won round 1, so the wind-up player was cautious. Then it happened. The wind-up player proceeded to try and perform a loop and summon wind-up carrier. The other player responded with compulsion summon. The wind-up player then chained the effect to get his magician from the deck. Wait, what? Seeing as this was not a legal move, as carrier is not a spell speed 2, a judge was called. Wind-up player then proceeded to yell and scream that he was right. He can chain me to the compulse, and no, he wasn't trying to claim priority, he was just going to chain the effect. So after about 5 to 10 minutes of arguing with the judge, he was given a penalty and a game loss. And he was pissed. So this goes down, and the day goes on. So at the end, when the standing goes up, he was again pissed about his standing, and not placing due to that game loss, placing him X3. So he goes to a judge, and wants it fixed. He was right, and he wanted that changed. So, descending from on high, the head of organized U.S. play of KONAMI came over and dropped this line. "I am the head of U.S. organized play for KONAMI. There is no one higher than me. You are hereby banned from competitive and organized Yu-Gi-Oh events. Now leave the premises, or I will have you escorted out." Dude shut up, packed his stuff, and walked out with his tail between his legs. And it was glorious. So yeah, I think that counts as a pretty clear-cut player ban and misbehaving. Oh boy, where do we start? Alright, regionals can be stressful for everyone. It takes a lot of stamina to make it through that many rounds. This is especially true considering that this story is from well before the new time limit rules. But if you've played through 6 previous rounds and are at the top tables, you really have no excuse for not understanding spell speed. Compulse is a trap that is spell speed 2, meaning that you would only be able to chain spell speed 2 or above to it. The card would need to say quick effect or during either player's turn to count as a spell speed 2. Which carrier does not say. It is not a quick effect. Learning the quick little text clues for card speeds is really important, and is something you should fully understand prior to any higher tournament play, or even locals if you want to save everyone a headache. At least know enough that you understand when spell speeds are explained to you. Furthermore, raging at a judge is never, ever going to solve anything. Really. I promise. Alright. Let's listen to one more short story before we wrap up tonight. At a regionals in September, the guy I dueled in round 2 had his Yang Zing deck stolen. I was also playing Yang Zing, so I felt for him. Then later in round 6, I was X1 because I was late to the event. I went up against some guy playing Ignites. He was super cocky, claiming that he topped a Nats before, and although he didn't say it outright, he was implying I was going to be no match for him. Game 1, he lets me go first. I open double creation, a fiendish chain, and 2 monsters. I set my traps in a monster and pass. He draws and summons Royal Magical Library, and then I fiendish chain it. He proceeds by using Raigeki on my monster, and I flip double creation and he scoops game 1. Game 2, he goes first, and gets out number 86 Heroic Champion with 4 materials out. I just set some traps turn 1 and pass, and then Torrential when he pendulum summons all his monsters. He hits me for 3k and then passes. I can summon now, so I just set a monster and pass. He tries to pendulum summon again, and I flip Bottomless this time, and he gets super salty. He attacks my monster, and I flip creation and get 2 more out. My turn, I summon Baxia Return, everything on his field, and then he scooped. I say, good game, and offer to shake hands, but he refuses and says, no, it wasn't a good game. I told him there was still a big chance for him to top and get his invite, but he said, I'm not some scrub who's just trying to get into top 48. I was gonna get top 4 at least. What's funny is that this all happened within 7 minutes. It was probably the fastest duel of my life. But that's not all. At the beginning of round 7, Mr. Ignite comes over to where my opponent and I are sitting and points me out to a judge. The dude thought I stole his calculator. The judge asked me nicely if I could just show him the contents of my bag, they'd leave me alone. Not wanting to cause a scene, I complied, and they found nothing in my bag. Ridiculous. It was kind of weird that 2 people I dueled got their stuff stolen, but I was innocent. Confidence is sexy, but cockiness? Not so much. Although being in a confident mindset can keep yourself calm and prevent misplays. It's not true confidence if you snap the moment your ego is in question. Being overly confident before the match even begins just sets you up for failure. After all, card games are still subject to RNG at the end of the day. I swear, the amount of times I drew Lilybell, you would have thought I was playing 3. That's not the point. Anyway. Be proud of the plays you make, but know that you aren't God, or an Egyptian god that cheats. Also, be careful with your cards when you go to tournaments. Some may have sentimental value to you, but also have you seen the price of the Ghost Rare Dark Magician lately? Some meta decks can easily be worth a rent payment. It's just better to have those things in front of you. And, I guess, your calculator, those Texas Instrument crooks short print those things. Have you ever had anything stolen at a tournament before? Feel free to lament your woes down below. Now, it's time for Frequently Asked Questions, where I answer one of your most tantalizing inquiries. Today's question is as follows. Why are you a siren if you live on the moon? Well, I'm a moon siren. I sing to the water that is within all of you. You are basically 60% water, and humans are salty enough that they're not much different than the ocean. Now, are you thoroughly drowned, or shall I invite you back for more cringe? Oh, you want to come back? Then definitely subscribe so you can hear the sound of my beautiful voice from anywhere. And if you liked being drowned, well then, give us a like. If you have any horror stories you'd like to share, check out the subreddit in the link below. It doesn't have to be just Yu-Gi-Oh either. Maybe you're a Magic fan, or a D&D enthusiast, or basically any gaming-related genre. If you post your story there, then a certain magical ghost siren may just come and share your story with the world. Like, the whole world. It's up there. It's in the left corner.